Dante Moore is about to step into the spotlight in a very real way, in a very different way than he did at UCLA, and I think we can expect good things from him at Oregon. I'm going to tell you why. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think that Dante Moore will be as prolific and productive as predecessor Dillon Gabriel and predecessor Bo Nix? It's actually very interesting because one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised to learn is that since Dan Lanning arrived at Oregon in 2022 as a head coach, no program has had a higher QBR rating since then than Oregon. And there are a couple of reasons as to why that is. The biggest one, I believe, is his offensive coordinator in Will Stein. Will Stein, who came up UTSA after Louisville and has really engineered one of the cooler and much more innovative offenses in college football. I believe this is a Lincoln Riley kind of offensive coordinator that we're seeing. He's just not getting as much publicity as some because he's at Oregon and also because he's not in a hurry to be a head coach anywhere. He's had opportunities. He will continue to have opportunities to be a head coach. I am curious to find out where it is that he actually wants to be. And I think that job might be taken for quite some time, given he's from the state of Texas. However, at Oregon, it's been rather remarkable what those quarterbacks have been able to do. So I'm going to start with Bo Nix here. Check these numbers out, man. Bo Nix, in 2022 at Oregon, led the nation in completion percentage, 71.9%. Also, the next year went 77.4%. And after throwing for 3,500 plus yards in 2022, threw for 4,500 yards in 2023 with 45 TDs and just 3 interceptions. It was not the kind of Bo Nix that we saw at Auburn. Again, at Auburn before transferring to Oregon. Then 2023, Dillon Gabriel completes 72.9% of his passes, his highest completion percentage across his 6 years of playing college football. He had never been above 70%, even at Oklahoma in that magical 2023 year, than he was last year. He also threw for over 3,800 yards with, get this, 30 TDs and 6 INTs, which is the exact number that he threw for at Oklahoma, right? So Dillon Gabriel, you could understand what he's going to do. Also, quiet as it is kept, Dillon Gabriel has the NCAA FBS record for the most touchdowns thrown with 155, falling just short of having the most yards thrown for because he needed to go about 4,100 yards, I believe, last year to break Case Keenum's record. But Case Keenum would also say, hey, dog, I only had 4 years to play. He had 6. And he'd be right. It'd be the Barry Sanders, Ashton Jeanty argument that we'd be given for this. But I wanted to point this out because we're asking Dante Moore to be that kind of prolific in what I'm really going to call year 1.5 for him, because he did get starts at UCLA and he did play for Chip Kelly. And there were moments when he looked outstanding, where he looked really good. But you could also see moments where he looked a little bit unpolished, a little rough, and a little bit immature. But that's okay. That's why you sit behind Dillon Gabriel for a year and are ready to go. And there's every reason to believe that he's going to have all the tools available to him that you would expect from what Dan Lanning has built at Oregon. Not to mention DeCorian Moore, who is the best wide receiver out of his high school class, joining Evan Stewart, giving them a two-headed monster on the outside. I think is going to be really great. They're going to be damn good at tailback, getting Micaiah Hughes to come over from Tulane. And they're going to be even more stout on defense, adding guys like Dylan Thieneman and Bear Alexander to what is already a pretty damn good core. I think with Dante Moore, though, we're going to have the first real opportunity to find out what Will Stein can do with a guy that really hasn't played a lot of football, and particularly hadn't played a lot of football elsewhere. One of the knocks against Lincoln Riley was that he could not develop a quarterback out of high school to be the kind of Heisman Trophy winner and first-round pick that Baker Mayfield was, Kyler Murray was, second-round pick for Jalen Hurts, and he'd also done what he'd done at Alabama, but the point is the same. Of the 3 quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts is the only one that's won the Super Bowl, right? To say nothing of Kyler Murray might want to be the best high school football player the state of Texas has ever produced, and certainly one of the best athletes that state has ever produced. And Baker Mayfield is a walking, talking advertisement for walk-ons everywhere. as he's the only walk-on to win the Heisman Trophy. These are three men that are unlike anybody else that we've seen in the sport. Can't really say that about Bo Nix. Can't really say that about Dillon Gabriel, but that's okay because both of those guys didn't look all that brilliant before getting to Oregon. I take that back. I'm going to tell you that Dillon Gabriel looked like he had what he's always had. He has tremendous awareness. He gets rid of the football on time. He throws in rhythm. And for the most part, he understands what he's seeing. The only time I saw him confused was the Ohio State game where Oregon absolutely got beat by, like it stole something because Jim Knowles just had that dude dead to rights and cooked him. Bo Nix, on the other hand, we never thought that we would get to see this version of Bo Nix, although he was highly regarded coming in at Auburn. But whatever was going on in that Gus Malzahn offense was just not working for him. And then he gets to be a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and he gets a offensive coordinator in Kenny Dillingham, and then later Will Stein, who can get the most out of him. And that was kind of the point. The point is, you got to make me right? You got to make me right. I'm giving Will Stein a lot of credit for what we've seen the last couple of years, but I also would like to mention that there's a head coach over there in Kenny Dillingham that also saw what it was with Bo Nix and knew what he needed to have. He's also a very close friend of Dan Lanning, which is to say that both those guys are cut from the same mold. There's actually a whole group of guys that I think is in that particular pocket. Among them include Mike Norvell, another guy that worked his behind off to get to a place like Florida State and turn them into a winner. I'm not sure that Dante Moore is going to be a 4,000-yard, 40 TD dude with just, single-digit picks, but it's possible. And because we've seen Dillon Gabriel do it and Bo Nix do it, I think that is what we're just going to expect from Dante Moore. If they don't get that out of Dante Moore, we're going to see Austin Novosad pretty quick, but also it's probably not going to be a great season for Oregon. So much of them being dominant last year and the year before, right, is their quarterback play. When they have not been great with the quarterback play, they've been beatable. And even when they have been great with the quarterback play, they've been beatable, right? Boise State nearly got them at Autzen. And the only other time we saw them get got was when the quarterback play was not good against, the reigning national champions. So against good football teams, they can be found out. But against everybody else, stomp a mud hole and walk them dry. I've got more faith in Oregon being good enough to win a national championship than I do Penn State right now. And that is without having seen Dante Moore play a meaningful snap at Oregon, because I've seen so many meaningful snaps from Drew Aller. I think in the offensive coordinator situation, I'd rather have Will Stein, but I don't think Andy Koldenicki is anything to, thumb your nose at. I certainly think that they got a better running back room at Penn State right now. But if you're looking for wideouts, you're looking to stretch the field, you're going to be looking at Oregon over Penn State, which was the Big Ten championship game last year. And we got to see what it looked like. Dillon Gabriel outplayed Drew Aller, and Oregon won the game. The defenses both got cooked. That's just what happened. Two offenses got the hold of them, and they went to work. But I did need to point out that guys have had the best years that they've ever had playing college football at Oregon, after having pretty damn good years, in at least the case of Dillon Gabriel, and so-so years in the case of Bo Nix. It's been a place where you've been able to reinvent yourself. It's been a place where people see the talent that you have, and they want to cultivate it. They want to turn you into a star. They want to turn you into the kind of player that people talk about on a national level and contend for the Heisman Trophy. So let's do that, right? Dante Moore has the kind of season that we've seen from Dillon Gabriel and Bo Nix. Yes, he will be at the Heisman ceremony in December because Oregon will be one of the 5 best programs in the country once again, a shoe-in for the college football playoff, and maybe defend their Big Ten championship, maybe win the first national championship in their history. Could be cool. Dante Moore was that guy.